Our Miles for Memories moment on Tuesdays at this time. Of course, Miles for Memories, a local effort in Calhoun County to address the issue of dementia and Alzheimer's through programming and research. Today, we're joined by Dr. Graham Atkins at Michigan State University, among the researchers working on exactly that, and he joins us this morning. Good morning, Doctor.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. One of the things you do in your role is to interact with local med students to help them understand all about dementia and Alzheimer's and the research therein. True?
That's correct. And we're taking an unusual approach at MSU, and we're actually asking for patients and caregivers to help us train the next generation of doctors.
Right. In doing so, we're tapping into the folks who know it best.
That's right. You know, so many of us have had experiences with physicians whose bedside manner is, shall we say, leaves something to be desired. And this can be particularly harmful when you're dealing with something as emotionally weighty as Alzheimer's disease. So at MSU, what we're looking at is what can we do differently for the next generation of doctors. And traditionally, med students have been trained almost exclusively by other doctors, and that's great. But then what's missing from that is the other side of the diagnosis, the people who are living with it on a daily basis and who know firsthand what makes a good doctor and what makes a bad doctor. So what we've started doing is I now bring my med students to Battle Creek and ask folks there through Senior Health Partners to sit down one-on-one with these medical students and talk about their experiences, what worked with their doctor, what didn't work, what lessons do they wish their doctor had, so that these students are able to get a real expert education in the realities of neurological diseases.
Mm-hmm. And when you listened to those answers, was there anything that surprised you or was unexpected?
Yes. I mean, things that Battle Creek is doing that are not really done anywhere else that work tremendously well is to bring together into sort of marshal community resources. And this means things beyond just medication, but things like occupational and physical therapy, exercise classes, socialization, activities to keep your brain going, all this sort of stuff that traditionally physicians aren't trained to be aware of or to connect their patients to. And now they're seeing the value of these community resources in providing a multifaceted, multifactorial, sort of full court press against Alzheimer's and dementia. And I think that that's something that these students will take with them in the rest of their careers.
So if I'm understanding you, then we here in Calhoun County are ahead of the curve then in other places when it comes to trying to deal with this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's something that MSU wants to be a part of, and we want to make sure that our students are learning from. The reality is the overwhelming majority of our students, probably in the mid-80% of our students, will stay in Michigan to practice medicine. So these are the future doctors for perhaps even Calhoun County. We want to make sure that we're learning all we can.
So why is it that other areas of the state or maybe the country are behind this pace that we have?
Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, you know, local issues vary so much from location to location. But I think in my experiences in coming to Battle Creek, what I've seen are some really talented folks who are really dedicated to bringing the community together to address this very difficult problem. Folks like Ann Clark with Senior Health Partners, Sherry Shervin with Miles for Memories. I've been overwhelmed by the community response and the open doors to have MSU come in and start working with folks there. And I think that's a great attitude, and there's some great resources in the community.
So as it relates to research, we hear a fair amount about research going on. Are there any breakthroughs?
Well, you know, my colleague, Dr. Scott Counts, I know, was on recently to talk about that. And one of the things that I try to do in my role as an educator is actually to sort of caution folks to take the word breakthrough with a grain of salt. Because you'll hear a lot in the popular press about, oh, this treatment works or that treatment works, and it's, you know, based on a single study with a limited patient population. So it's important that we try to educate about how to interpret those results, and that's something that we try to do through some educational programming that goes on at Senior Health Partners as well. One of the things that I was inspired by is some recent work that came out of a study that had a decent number of patients as part of their case study that looked at the types of sort of brain activity that seemed to work well at warding off dementia. And there's been a lot of question about these brain games and do they help and do they not help. This study is looking specifically at a particular type of brain game, one that asks people to handle tasks sort of quickly in a cognitive processing, sort of a speed reaction training. And that seemed to work pretty well. But, of course, these results, we want to take them with a grain of salt, and this is something that will need to be repeated. But I think the overall message from a lot of these studies we're seeing is you got to hit Alzheimer's with everything you've got. So, constant brain training and nutrition and occupational therapy, I mean, everything you can throw at it.
Well, that makes sense, and we appreciate the time you've given us to talk a little about that and your experiences here in Battle Creek. Dr. Graham Atkins, Michigan State University, in our Miles for Memories moment. More information easily found. Type Miles for Memories in the search box at the top of Facebook and like their page, and you'll get regular updates on these and other activities that Miles for Memories is involved in.